Welcome once again to KitPlus TV, where this week we have a packed show and we welcome a new member to the team.
This week we will be talking to Sam from Sound Network about a new reporter kit from DPP AI microphones, Kamen from SubtitleNEXT about their subtitling and captions, Jonathan from Object Matrix with their support of Adobe Productions, and Andy from DeGiro, who recaps on the NASA SpaceX event together with their latest product developments.
And Luca is our TV Future student this week and takes us through his editing experience and how he has developed his skills over recent years from Windows Movie Maker to where he is now.
And our new addition to the KitPlus team is world-renowned storm chaser, Northern Lights filmmaker, DOP, producer, editor, the list goes on. Alister Chapman will be presenting a skills and tech section each week, so do watch out for that later in this show, where he will be looking at the hottest topics being discussed all over the place right now, and that is RAW. Before that, let's go over to Dick to see who's with him today.
Thanks, Simon. Today I'm talking to Mark Harrison, the Managing Director of DPP. We'll talk about good operating practices and possibly the prospects for AI in media. But first, TV Futures.
Hi, I'm Luca DeMaio. I'm a soon-to-be graduate of the Television and Broadcasting course at the University of Portsmouth. I also did a placement year based on video editing where I got to work on my own freelance projects and help students who were being taught in editing lessons themselves. Ever since I was little, I've been interested in making videos and editing them. What started off as a little curiosity slowly worked its way up, and I studied it in college and then decided to take it further by taking it on as a degree in hopes of starting a video production career. I honestly found the course so enlightening. I got to work in so many areas, from producing to presenting live television. But the area that really struck me was editing. Since my first year and the first project I worked on, I knew that I'd found the next step for my passion. And you never know where the passion will take you. I know I wanted a video production career for the first 2 years of my degree and for most of my life. And then one day I saw an email for the placement that I mentioned. I literally brushed it off, but it stuck in my mind for a while. I read the job spec and then I thought, I can actually do this. So I've got that skill set and there's the area for development that I'm really interested in for my future career. I'm so glad now that I took female seriously, because if I hadn't, then I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be the person I am today. I didn't only develop my video editing skills and my video production skills, but I developed my personal skills. I got more confidence in myself as a person, in my abilities, client relation skills. I learned how to seek out freelance projects that were just beyond the course. From sports videos to food videos to regular interviews and even a campaign video. I managed to expand my portfolio and develop my own skills, which set me up really well for my final year. And my final year was a great continuation of my placement year. I took what I learned and I took my attitude with all these projects. I produced a live show about mental health and wellbeing and created a documentary about a boxing coach using his boxing club to keep kids out of trouble. And also got to film some great VTs. One was about Remembrance Day and another one was about a local band. And alongside all that, I also took charge of the University Video Production Society. I felt my skills, passion and confidence enabled me to be a leader in that sense, that I could pass on what I'd learned to people who were in the same position that I was all those years ago. And I take pride in the fact that I was able to use this platform to teach others what I know and also produce more content outside of my degree, carrying on that freelance attitude that I had in my placement year. It was definitely a turbulent 4 years that had many ups and downs, but the good absolutely outweighs the bad. I've definitely changed as a person for the better. I know it's cliche, but I really feel like I found myself. And I'm hopeful and confident that everything that I've done for myself over the past 4 years, everything I've learned, every video I've made and every person I've met, and leave me where I've always wanted to be ever since I was younger, when I've used Windows Movie Maker, when I was in college and when I started the degree.
Thanks, Luca. And as we say each week, if you can provide mentoring, work experience, or even a job to one of our student contributors, then please get in touch.
So if you're in education right now and or recently graduated and want to have your say, the link is on screen now. Being on KitPlus TV can't look that bad on your CV.
And now a quick thank you to our headline supporter, Media Proxy, who is the global leader for all things compliance. With over 20 years in the business and over 15,000 channels deployed in over 60 countries, they are the trusted partner in the industry for logging, monitoring and analysis of linear broadcast and OTT.
If you're a regular viewer of KitPlus TV, then you should also know by now that LogServer features extensive tools around digital program insertion, detection and monitoring. Support includes SCSI 104 as well as type 5 and 6 SCSI 35 messages. Triggers can be monitored live, reviewed and analysed as well as reconciled in real time against second screen events.
And if you're looking to replace your Volacom system, team up with the global leader in compliance. For more information, please check out their website.
We do sincerely thank Media Proxy for their support of the show. So let's now hand back to Dick.
Today I'm talking to Mark Harrison, who's the Managing Director of DPP. Mark, thank you very much. You've got quite an interesting history yourself. Just tell us how you came to be here and a little bit about what you've achieved.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I began as an academic, actually, as a historian, but then became a TV producer and director as a freelancer for many years. And mostly in the independent sector. And I finally ended up at the BBC in 2002 to run the arts department there, and then to run multi-platform for them. And during that time, people spotted that I just really liked innovation. I really liked trying to find out ways to make the budget go further. So my mistake was I seemed to quite enjoy being the person in between the technologists and the creatives. So that kind of stuck. And I ended up being asked to be controller of production for when the new BBC North was created at Salford to work out the ways of working there for the production community. And actually, it was during that time that I also got involved in what was initially just an informal get-together that was to turn into the DPP.
Yeah, so tell us about those origins of the DPP. I mean, it really was an informal get-together, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. You see, we had this problem, and I was really aware of it at the time that I was looking at sort of creating a new working environment for producers in the North, which was that a lot of creative people were going home in order to work creatively. We had this sort of paradox that actually the consumer world had become entirely digital, whereas the world of professional content making wasn't. And that was principally because although we were making and editing everything digitally, we were then putting it onto videotape to deliver it. And that was creating this kind of schism between the kind of the production environment and then the environment in which content got managed and distributed. And so, I got together with a couple of colleagues from ITV and Channel 4, and we convened a workshop with stakeholders from across the industry, from production, from the tech sector, from post-production. And we said, look, how can we speed up this move to end-to-end digital production? And it was out of that, actually, that we created this thing that was at that time called the Digital Production Partnership, in which we brought everybody from across the industry together to look at that problem.
Yeah, I mean, and real cooperation, a real sort of shared interests, and trying to solve something that was obviously holding things back.
Yeah, and I think what people found exciting, and in a way I found kind of amazing, was that when we began to hold events and workshops and so forth, we found that when we created a kind of mixed table of people from different parts of the supply chain, we were seeing suppliers meeting their customers for the first time. You don't very often in our business actually get different parts of the supply chain in the room together in conversation. You might get a sales encounter, perhaps at a trade show, but creating that space in which they can sit down together as equals and share their perspectives at that time was almost unheard of. And actually, it was that almost as much as the fact that we would go on and solve this problem of tape delivery by replacing it with a file delivery specification. It was that collaboration that, in fact, people got most excited by, and it was that led people to ask us to stay around and become, a kind of long-term entity.
So, who are your members now? Do they come from all sides of the industry?
They absolutely do. I mean, it's extraordinary. We've only just had our 5th birthday as the DPP. As a not-for-profit but commercial entity that is funded by membership and sponsorship. We have around 400 member companies, and that ranges from the global tech giants, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, almost all the US networks, and then a huge range of technology vendors and service providers, and then right through into production, including now digital agencies and so forth. So it really is the whole supply chain, and it's the whole supply chain internationally. In fact, the typical new DPP member is not headquartered in the UK.
That's interesting because obviously it started from UK broadcasters trying to solve a shared problem, but it is now very much an international, global organisation.
Yeah, it is. That became the case really quickly, actually, and I think it's because, heck, as we all know, the media economy is a global economy, and as soon as you start, to have conversations which are bounded by territorial limits, you're only having part of the conversation.
Mark and I carried on talking for quite a while. You can see the whole conversation by clicking on the link here on screen. Now, back to the studio.
And now for the first workflow section of our news, Capture and Produce. Atomos and ZCAM have enabled 12-bit 5.8K Apple ProRes RAW over HDMI, recording on their Ninja 5 HDR monitor recorder, in combination with the flagship series Z large sensor cameras, as well as 4K ProRes RAW recording for the Micro Four Thirds C models.
And Atomos continues in the news with Fujifilm announcing that firmware version 2.0 has been released that will enable the Fujifilm GFX100 to output 4K RAW video in up to 2997 frames per second via the HDMI to the Atomos Ninja 5. This footage is then encoded into 12-bit Apple ProRes RAW for compatibility with a wide range of grading and editing software.
If you need some more insight into RAW, do check out Alister's section later on in the show, where he offers an in-depth explanation. UAE-based 7 Production has chosen an end-to-end Grass Valley workflow for its latest 4K UHD outside broadcast truck, in the first of its kind in the region. Slated to go live in Q3 of 2020, the new OB truck will be fully HDR ready and will house GV's Kahuna 9600 production switcher with Maverick control panel, Sirius 840 router and MV800 multiviewer.
And Leading Edge Multimedia, who produce, record and live stream sporting events, concerts, house of worship applications and so on, have chosen the Marshall Electronics CV346 compact HD camera. They needed an extremely small, easily transportable camera with superior image quality and reliable streaming capabilities. The CV346's CS lens mount also offers a wide range of prime and varifocal lens options from ultra-wide to telephoto.
Well, we would like to welcome our first workflow guest. We have Sam from Sound Networks. Nice to see you and welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Now you've particularly come on the show to talk about a new product from DPA that is going to help mobile journalists and basically anyone conducting live interviews. Give us a little bit more detail about that.
Sure, great. So, what I want to talk about today is the new microphone from DPA. And first of all, I'm just going to dive into the microphone itself. So this is the 4097 micro shotgun. And for those of you out there, for those of you out there who know the DPA range, you might recognize this design from our 4099 instrument mic. And essentially, the design is identical. The main difference here is the sensitivity of the microphone. And that is, this mic is more sensitive than the 4099 because it's designed to be used at a further distance from the sound source. So what we've got in here is we've got a 5mm supercardioid capsule using an interference tube. And that gives you a really nice tight polar pattern. So you're going to get a nice focus on whatever you're trying to capture. Alongside that, we've got the core preamp technology in there. So that gives you increased dynamic range. It's 110 dB on this particular mic. Low self noise and a max SPL of 135. Alongside that, the core gives you an IP rating of 58. So this mic is really ready to get out there and do the work in the harshest environments. And I know sometimes people can feel that DPA might be a little bit fragile, but I just want to prove that this is ready to go out there and do some serious work. So it's nice and durable. And then with this mic, what we've done is package it into a interview kit. So what I have here is the 4097 interview kit, and the interview kit includes everything you see here. So you've got the microphone, a windjammer, a little mount for the mic, which you can lock so the mic's not going to move around, and then a 1.8 heavy-duty cable, and then a telescopic boom, along with a plate at the bottom where you can connect either a wireless transmitter or an XLR adapter, depending on which way you want to go. So what's cool about this is obviously at the moment it's around about 40 centimeters collapsed, but very quickly we can open it out. And what we have now is a very lightweight 330 grams, 1.4 meter boom with the 4097 on the end of it. And hopefully what this allows people to do, certainly in the current climate, is to able to interview people and capture the audio, but at a safe distance, which is obviously incredibly crucial right now. And the idea being is it's very easy to set up, very easy to collapse, put back in your bag, away you go. And like I said, you can have a wireless transmitter connected to this plate or an XLR adapter. So one thing to be aware of is you get everything you see here in the picture in the kit. The only thing you don't get is whatever wireless microdot adapter you might want to use. And obviously that's for the reason we don't want to pigeonhole this to a particular wireless manufacturer. So depending on which transmitter you're using, you can just buy the relevant adapter alongside it, and then you're away to go. And that is, the 4097 interview kit.
I'm struggling to find any questions to ask. You've done that so brilliantly. One of the questions is, how much is the kit?
So list price on the full kit is $395 ex VAT. And also, so the mic itself, because you can buy this as an individual product, because there are other applications for this, such as plant mics on sets, so for in-car audio. One thing to be aware of is because, like I said, this design is similar to another microphone we do, the 4099. This gooseneck is the same diameter, so it'll actually work with any of the sort of generic clips that we have. So, for example, we have what's called a clamp mount, which is just a very generic way of clamping this mic onto a visor or whatever it is. People out there are very inventive, so I'm sure they'll find different ways to make it work.
It's a versatile microphone as well as being a good interview kit for the current conditions. And is there anything else you've identified? Yeah, anything else in the range you've identified as helping us at this time?
One product that has been quite interesting at the moment, which has been out for a little while now, is what's called the MMA-A digital audio interface, which is a very snappy name, obviously. And what this is it's a 2-channel digital audio interface designed for DPA microphones. So on the top here, you've got 2 microdot inputs where you can connect. In theory, you can actually power any of the DPA capsules, provided they're on a preamp which terminates to microdot. But for this environment, so for example, you could connect the 4097 to this, and then from this, you can either plug directly into an iOS device and plumb this audio into Apple Video or Filmic Pro or whatever third-party app you might be using. Or what's a little bit less known is you actually can just plug this straight into a laptop. So the kit comes with a standard USB cable along with the lightning cable, and you can plug this into a laptop. It will be seen as an audio interface without a driver, and then from there you can either use it via video conferencing software, Zoom, and all of those sort of things, or plumb it straight into your DAW, and then you've got a really small pocket-sized way of getting high-quality audio straight into your laptop. So more and more we're doing things like this rather than face-to-face, or if you're doing online webinars or any sort of professional level content and you want to up your game with the audio, then you can have a really nice portable package that allows you to use DPAs either into your phone or into your laptop.
Yeah, brilliant. I must admit, I've got one and I didn't realise it was going into the laptop so easily, so I tried it, and on a Windows machine it does. It just pops in and it comes up. So yeah,
just pops up. Yeah,
piece of kit. No, very, very helpful. Well, thank you very much. Audio's a very important part of everything we do, so good to get you on. Hope to see you soon at a show. And thanks for coming in. See you soon.
Thank you very much. Yeah, all the best.
And now onto our next workflow section, manipulate and edit. Did you know that the hugely popular television show Normal People was graded and finished in DaVinci Resolve Studio? With almost 48 million requests on BBC iPlayer so far, this 12-part drama has certainly gripped audiences across the UK and US. All of the post-production relied on an ACES workflow in DaVinci Resolve Studio for the grade, online and final deliverables.
Lawo has announced that its MC² series audio production consoles, as well as its surfaceless operations, including MC² microcore, can be controlled from any place in the world with a decent internet connection, even using a smartphone as a 4G personal hotspot. The most important ingredient of this setup is remote fader control using a Mackie human interface compatible fader panel. Lawo's Mix Kitchen only requires slight configuration adaptations to enable the Nova 73 console core on the broadcaster's premises to be remotely controlled.
And Diguise takes on the new normal with the launch of R17.3, its latest software release that delivers an improved workflow for enhanced efficiency and successful completion of projects post-lockdown. New features include indirections, multi-layer editing, object assignment hotkeys, crossfade loop section mode, as well as a number of improvements to further streamline the user experience.
And now we always like to talk to new people who we haven't had on KitPlus TV before. And with us today in the studio is Kamen from SubtitleNEXT. Welcome to the studio, Kamen. Maybe let's start by you telling us a little bit about SubtitleNEXT.
SubtitleNEXT is a time text software platform. It's intended for various multimedia industries like television, cinema, online video, web streaming, live events, theaters, operas, name whatever you think of the industry which uses some form of time text like subtitles, captions, audio annotations, or anything else which is presented simultaneously with the visual or audio media. It has more than 30 years of history and incorporates experience of professionals, hundreds of professionals during these years, and tries always to be on the edge of technology. So this is in short what SubtitleNEXT is.
So, Kamen, tell us a little bit about how your technology works. Is it a cloud-based solution? Is it a hardware-based solution? Give us some idea of the sort of solutions that you guys provide.
It's a set of different applications. Some of those are web-based, other are desktop applications, depending on what exactly someone needs. So the heart of the system is desktop application, but it is like hybrid one because it can work both with offline and online data. But it's a desktop application in its nature. So it's easy with it to work both with directly with online media and subtitles. No need for download or something to work with it, but also can work with offline media and can be connected to various collaboration systems, which can be online, cloud-based, or so on. Like the other part of our system, which is web-based, and it's actually directly connected with the offline tool.
So, Kamen, obviously it's, as you say, software applications you guys are always developing and improving and adding to it. What's some of the latest updates we can be expecting from you guys?
We are very happy to announce that we have developed a very new, we call it Smart Text Assist, which incorporates in a single place all possible suggestions of text alteration of the text. This is the thing which is very time consuming in this industry. So things like translations, phrase alternatives, synonyms, date and time format conversions, unit conversions, even text manipulations based on user configurable regular expressions are all in the single tool. All sources of information can come from existing own sources in SubtitleNEXT or can be connected to external providers of such sources, so translations for such examples or translation memories and so on. So the innovative thing here is that all sources of information come in a single place as suggestions. So users with a single click or key press can alter their text, something which so far they had to do in a separate tools, either inside the software or external tools. And this was very time consuming. So here in a fraction of a second, you get your text alteration. And this is something which Wife subtitlers, because SubtitleNEXT can also serve Wife subtitling. Wife subtitlers haven't had such tools so far, so they will appreciate a lot to have something which will alter their text in real time.
That's great, Kamen. Thank you very much for giving us all that rundown. We'll put a link up on the screen now so people know where to find out more. And yeah, thanks very much for coming on KitPlus TV.
Thank you so much too.
And our third workflow section is Manage and Monitor, and first up is news from Frame.io, who have just released the series finale of its video tutorial series Workflow from Home, which explores how to enable remote video workflows through tech breakdowns and deep dive user case studies. In episode 13, the final of the series, they reflect on the past 100 days since the series premiered before diving into the predictions for the future of video creation and the film industry as a whole. Check it out on the link below.
The University of York's Department of Theatre, Film, Television and Interactive Media equips students with the skills necessary to achieve greatness in the creative industries. An important part of the school's curriculum focuses on audio recording and delivery. To teach students in its audio programs about loudness compliance and metering, they rely on a VisLM plugin from NUGEN. Now, we've had Freddie from NUGEN on a previous show, so do look back at the playlists for that.
And if, like John here, you're going to be producing esports programming, your players need the perfect gaming experience. Esports professionals need the highest possible frame rates and lowest latency to be able to play smoothly in order to stay ahead of the game. As a leading manufacturer of KVM systems for extending and switching keyboard video and mouse signals, Guntermann and Drunck can offer just this for the perfect esports experience, including crystal clear, full HD resolutions with 240Hz frame rates and without any noticeable latency.
And now on the show, we have Jonathan Morgan from Object Matrix. Hi, Jonathan. Thank you for coming on. Let's talk a little bit about Object Matrix and how you guys are supporting Adobe Productions with Premiere Pro. And it's probably worth sort of starting off at a real basic level for those who don't know, letting us know what Adobe Productions is.
Yeah, Adobe Productions is basically there to help you manage projects with Teams and Adobe Premiere Pro. So it adds more functionality basically around the management of Adobe. Yeah. I mean, I guess, John, what I would say is since COVID, I spoke to a bunch of people and we've got a bunch of customers. And I would say 9 out of 10 of those people have gone to remote workflows. It's not news, right? We all know that. But a question of how do you do your remote workflow? So with a tool like Adobe, you've really got two options when you come to doing your remote workflow. So the first option is that you pull all of your data to the person doing the editing, right? And the second option is that you remote desktop to a machine that is running somewhere else and you do your editing from that machine. Now with our customers, they desperately wanted to be able to do this ASAP as soon as COVID hit, as you'd imagine. And you can do that now with object storage like Object Matrixes. So with those tools and the way that they work, and with the interfaces we provide into Adobe, you can basically have a large library of media in Matrix Store. And you've got two options. You can either curate and prepare the data in order to be able to take small edits to somebody's house, someone's remote place of work. So not the whole media file, but be able to chop just the approximate piece you want and just transfer that data. Or if you're remote editing to Matrix Store, you could be running remote workstations and have those running across our file system interfaces, which then enable you to access the whole media library. So it's really powerful. And it's part of either our on-prem offering or it's part of our Matrix Store cloud offering that basically enables a private cloud or a hybrid cloud that mixes with your on-prem and with your public cloud offering in order to enable these Premiere Pro and Adobe production workflows.
Cool. It sounds like you guys have reacted incredibly quickly to the situation. Now, obviously, if people want to find out information, we've put the link on screen where you can find out more information about Object Matrix and all their offerings. In the meantime, Jonathan, thank you very much for joining us on KitPlus TV.
My pleasure. Thank you, John.
And now on to our final section, workflow section of news. DeGiro has provided a San Diego TV station with over 60 DeGiro Live Plus mobile apps that we've previously mentioned on the show to support its emergency news coverage strategy. The Live Plus app, which is downloadable to smartphones and tablets, has allowed the station to deliver incredible live footage from the recent Black Lives Matter rallies inside of San Diego's recent wildfires and to respond with agility to the broadcasting challenges of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic.
Now, the Festival of German Language Literature was streamed live using internet solutions for remote production in a somewhat unusual way. The festival normally takes place, and I'm going to try and say this right, in Klagenfurt, Austria. However, this year, the prize giving took place under different circumstances, i.e. from home. Coordinated and streamed by Remote Media Productions and Services, the Internor Direct Link encoders were safely established in the homes of 14 authors and jury members scattered throughout Austria, Germany and Switzerland to produce 7 live channels routed through to the master control room where a direct router rack was placed.
And more AGA news now, and they've expanded their powerful portable family of 12 GSDI mini converters, including new models that extend fiber connectivity for the transfer of 12 GSDI over long distances of up to 10 kilometers via a single optical cable with lockdown SD connectors. Have a look at the AGA website for all the details on these new mini converters.
And at last, we welcome Andy Clipsham from DeGiro. Hi, Andy. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning.
We recently covered the news from DeGiro about the NASA launch, which was great. I think now we'd like to hear a bit more about developments in DeGiro, such as Waypoint and Q-Point 50.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, the NASA event was really exciting. As someone who's very interested in space travel, like many people around the world, there's a lot of pride that I knew that DeGiro was helping to bring that to the world. And how we did that is 2 of our Pathway server encoders were placed at the Kennedy Space Station, where they were sending the live feed from NASA out to our cloud infrastructure known as Multipoint, where it was then sent around the world to be able to be used by anyone using the DeGiro receiver to bring in that stream to then be able to broadcast to their customers.
Yeah, that was great news. And so how does Waypoint and Q-Point 50 now fit in? What do we expect from that?
Okay, so for quite some time now, DeGiro has had the Pathway and the Gateway form factor, which is a half-depth 1U high server form factor that is vehicle rated for shock and vibe. So it's able to be transported usually in a broadcast truck. But now we have decided to release these new products known as the Waypoint 50 and the Q-Point 50 in time with this COVID situation where broadcasters are needing to get a little bit more creative in how they can continue to offer services for their customers. They may have had to evacuate stations and they needed to have equipment that allowed them to do that. So we were able to quickly pull together the Waypoint 50 and the Q-Point 50. So speaking of them both, the Waypoint 50 is our receiver that is able to receive one stream, so one single SDI or MPEG-TS output. It complements the Waypoint 104, which is our full data center form factor with 4 outputs. So now being vehicle rated, that allows it to be able to go in things like, say, a station in a box, as we call it, which is just a portable rack that we use. And we have the Waypoint 50. We can put the Q point. We can put the pathway in for encoding, and then a gateway product in order to carry all of those streams. So now you have a receiver, a transmitter, as well as our Q point 50 to be able to send out that return video feed. The Q point 50, to go into detail on it, it's able to generate up to 8 outputs that go to a simple browser. You don't need an app. Anybody can launch a browser page and be able to receive this full screen stream at extremely low latency, so as low as 250 milliseconds. That Q point 50 complements the Q point 100 we launched about a year ago, that is more the data center form factor for sending the same type of 8 streams as well as 250 milliseconds. Now we have it in a more portable form factor, which is more important in this day and age with the COVID situation, where people are often reporting from unique locations, like their homes and that sort of situation.
That's great, very interesting. And actually, just a question: the Q point 50 are they're effectively lower cost than the 200? Are they?
Yeah, so the Waypoint 50 is certainly lower cost, and that is a good point. It still has Gen lock, so it's still a suitable product to go in proper studios to be used. And that can be relevant for stations that don't need the full capability of the 4 output 104 or the SMPTE 204, which also has 4 outputs. Having just the 1 output allows us to offer a lower cost price point for customers that just need one. Maybe it's a university, a small station, someone who's just getting up with DeGiro equipment. It allows for that, for the receiver to be used for that.
Yeah, or maybe sort of, if they're scaling up in multiple numbers, but don't need all of the functionality.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah, great to see you. And hopefully we'll see you at a show in person again soon. And thank you for coming on, Andy.
Definitely. Thank you very much for having me. Have a great day.
So if you were looking forward to our user review of the week, then we've got a slight change for you. The user reviews are all on the link below, and we're replacing them on the weekly show with some top technical insight each week with Alister Chapman. Alister, over to you.
Thanks, Matt. Today I'm going to look at one of the hottest topics that's being much discussed all over the place right now, and that's RAW. But what does RAW mean? What benefit might it bring you? Well, the first thing to understand is the things that it won't bring you. And it won't give you more dynamic range over a log recording, or more colour for that matter. Those things are generally governed by the sensor that's in the camera itself. RAW cannot turn a bad sensor into a great one. And the other thing that RAW won't allow you to do is to expose incorrectly, or to be wildly off with your white balance. A lot of RAW video cameras will actually change and adjust the white balance in camera to make sure that the RAW recording is fully optimized. So you still need to do these things properly. You need to white balance correctly, and you need to expose correctly. Now, what RAW does that makes it different from conventional recordings is it gives you the way to record the output of your camera sensor very efficiently. Now, normally when a video camera records a log recording, it takes the output from that Bayer single chip sensor and converts it into component video. And that means you have a luminance channel Y plus CB and CR. So you actually have 3 sets of data that need to be recorded. And that means that the file is actually already quite large. Now, when you record RAW, you're just taking one single set of brightness values from the sensor, and that's all you record. So typically what you need to record is about 1/3 of the size of a component recording. That reduction in size means that you can use less compression or a higher bit depth and things like that that make the file easier to record at a higher quality level. And generally it's that higher quality level of the recording that brings the benefits that you see in post-production. Now, sometimes because of the way log is encoded, it can be tricky to do things like a white balance change or an exposure change in post.
whereas because of the way RAW is encoded, often linear, it's a little bit easier. But with the right workflow, you can do the same corrections to log as well. So RAW, yes, it can be brilliant because it can bring you more data into your post-production workflow. 16-bit RAW in particular is delightful to work with, and I really enjoy working with 16-bit RAW. But like any codec, you need to understand what it is you're recording. We all know that an 8-bit log recording isn't as good as a 10-bit log recording. Well, the same applies with RAW. 10-bit RAW is generally not going to be as good as 12-bit RAW, which will rarely be as good as 16-bit RAW. And then it also depends on how highly compressed it is. Very highly compressed 12-bit RAW might not be as good as lightly compressed 10-bit RAW. So there's lots of factors to consider when you're looking at RAW as a recording option. So in summary, RAW can be really good and it can be really useful to have in post-production. But it isn't going to transform your shots by some sort of magic trick into suddenly amazing looking footage. That's down to how you grade and how you handle your material, whether it's log or RAW, in post. Now next week I'm going to have a look at gamma curves, something quite different, and how you choose a different gamma curve in your camera. It sounds very complicated. I think a lot of people are very confused by this, but actually it's quite simple, and we'll take a look at that next week. So do subscribe to the show so you don't miss anything. And now back to the studio.
So I've got to admit to being slightly confused with gamma curves, and if they're on your bucket list of things that need an explanation, then as Alister says, do subscribe to the channel and watch out next Tuesday for all the info you need to know.
And of course, we are still offering £100 for any user reviews we use, so check the link on screen now for all information about creating one and sending it in.
We do sincerely hope you all enjoyed the show, and we'll see you virtually next Tuesday with more workflow guests, Dick's interview, industry news and technical insight from Alister. Cheerio.